Welcome to the Asylum. And now, your hosts, Rick Fleeger and Rick Briggs.
That's right. Welcome back into the Asylum Fantasy Sports Show, now a proud member of the Full-Time Fantasy Podcast Network. Check out this and tons of other great shows over at fulltimefantasy.com, at fulltimefantasy on Twitter. Of course, you want to follow your boys, asylumfantasysports.com, at asylumfootball on Twitter. If you want to be part of tonight's mailbag, well, probably next week's, you won't make it in for tonight, asylumfootball at gmail.com. I am Rick Fleeger, welcoming in my co-host and noted feminist, Rick Briggs. How's it going, Rick?
Yeah, welcome back to the Asylum, the prediction show, the questions, the mailbag will be open tonight. And, yeah, don't listen to Rick. It may not make the show, but you get him in up till about 11:30 on Sunday morning. We'll get to him. So
come noon, Rick is drunk as a rat, and you don't want him answering those questions.
I got to go down in my hole and settle down in my easy chair.
With the bourbon and the illicit drugs.
It's getting that time of year now. It's starting to get a little chilly. It's getting to be bourbon weather. You know, the beer weather's kind of fading away.
I still can't handle brown liquor. It makes me squirrely, Rick. I can drink beer all day, and you've seen it. I just act like an idiot and crash around.
Well, yeah, you act like an idiot, all right, no doubt about it.
I get into the brown liquor, I get squirrely, so I got to stay off it. As much as I enjoy it, I can't behave myself.
Week 6, we got, I tell you, a lot of fantasy implications as far as bye week. You know, this week.
These next couple weeks are going to hurt.
Raiders, Bills, Colts, and Bears off this week. And I tell you what, pay attention to your boys. We crushed it last week against the Lion. I was 10-4-1.
Where was I at?
You were at 7-7-1.
Right in the middle where I always am.
Yeah, right in the middle there. Straight up, you were a little lacking. You were 7-8. I was 9-5.
We're struggling. We're usually 4 or 5 games over 500 every week straight up. This year's weird, man.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
But against the Line, you're winning money. I'm right there, about 500. So
we're going to get it. We're going to get it.
Yeah, just stay here with your boys. We'll get you all right. Well, let's get to our little predictions here.
Well, let's do some start-sit.
Oh, yeah, it's a great idea. Great idea.
I'll start it out. I'll tell you what, I'll just give all three, a quarterback, a running back, and a wide receiver.
Okay.
I get the quarterback position. I'm all in on Kyle Allen all of a sudden. Going up against this Tampa Bay defense, I think it's going to be a good football game. I think Kyle Allen is the real deal. If nothing else, he's going to throw one pass to Christian McCaffrey, who he'll bust it for 93 yards. It's just, he's getting it done. You've got some guys on bye this week. You may be scouring that waiver wire. Kyle Allen, I think you could do a heck of a lot worse based on, what's going to kind of be available at this time.
And that's what these starts and sits are geared toward.
Right.
We're not going to say, well, you better start Christian McCaffrey this week because he's pretty good.
Oh, well, that was my running back start, Rick, so you just spoiled that one. No, at running back, I'll tell you what, a lot of questions about it. The last couple of weeks, I think we see Melvin Gordon back in earnest this week. For me, Austin Eckler is still a start. He is the type of player going up against that Steelers defense this week. He is the type of player who will kill them. He will make big chunk plays. He's not going to need the touches he's put up to this point. There's going to be big third down chunk plays. He is going to find the end zone. He is precisely the type of player that kills the Pittsburgh Steelers. And at wide receiver, Rick, I think you get Case Keenum starting again after the coaching change in Washington. I think Terry McLaurin's back to what we saw early on in the year. Going against that Dolphins defense, they should be able to move the ball. Keenan and McLaurin seem to have a little bit of rapport with him back and with Haskins. Fortunately for McLaurin not being in there, I think Terry McLaurin's going to be a real nice flex play this week.
Okay, I'm going to go quarterback. Look, I'm going again this week with Kirk Cousins. We were right about him last week. And they're going up against Philadelphia. Look, Philadelphia is still next to the last in pass defense, despite destroying the Jets last week with Luke Falk at quarterback.
Right.
So, I think Kirk Cousins still is poised to put up some big numbers. Running back, I'm going for the toilet bowl. Miami's given up 176 yards a game on the ground so far this year. Adrian Peterson, I think, is a great start if you got a banged-up running back.
Yeah, I almost guarantee he gets 20 carries this week. What he does with them, I don't know, but he will. If you're looking for opportunity, if you got guys on a bye week like a Marlon Mack,
exactly,
he's going to touch the ball 20 times. I guarantee it.
Yeah, and I think this is his best chance at a 100-yard game, and it may be a score that you're going to have. And wide receiver, I know this may be a stretch, but I'm going Devontae Parker. If you've got a couple of guys on bye, a T.Y. Hilton, a banged up Mike Williams, something like that. If you find yourself with some injuries, buys, that kind of thing, the Washington defense has given up the most passing TDs in the NFL this year. And let's not forget that Albert Wilson's hurt for the Dolphins, and Devontae Parker's caught exactly one of the two TD thrown this year.
That is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable, but I think he could certainly actually have a decent day if you're in a pinch.
He's actually every other week put up decent numbers, yardage wise, anyhow. Right. So yeah, something to look at. All right, let's go to the. Before we do that, I'm going to ask you a question, Rick.
Okay.
And this is a loaded question because this week you probably don't know, and nobody else knows this. It's Civil War week as Rick Briggs and I go head to head against one another in the only league that matters, the Caveman Football League. You bring up Kirk Cousins as a start. I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to be honest with me, even though we're competing.
I'm always honest.
Kirk Cousins against that Eagles defense or Matt Stafford in Lambeau this week? I'm struggling with it. I shouldn't be. It should be obvious, but I'm really struggling with that.
Okay. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest, but you also have to realize my tendencies.
Well, I know how much you hate Stafford.
I've never liked Matt
Cousins.
Stafford.
Yeah.
I'd go Kirk Cousins in a heartbeat against that Philly defense.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. Those are two quarterbacks I really know your feelings on well.
Yeah.
You're a Kirk Cousins apologist, and Matt Stafford could come to your house, cook you breakfast, paint the house, give you a new car, and you would still tell him he sucked as he walked out the door. There is nothing that man can do.
What kind of car?
To win you over. Yeah, exactly. Nothing that man can do to win you over. All right, sits this week. There's kind of a theme in your starts, Rick. There's a theme in my sits. I'm going to sit Carson Wentz against the Vikings this week. I don't like that matchup. The Vikings defense playing really well. And I think Carson Wentz has been underwhelming. I feel like that's a word I've used a lot here already tonight. Really underwhelming to this point.
Now, here's a question I want to pose to you. If you're in a fantasy league, and I'm preface my sits because if you're in a one quarterback league, you probably already have your starting quarterback. But if you're if you're going to be sitting a Carson Wentz, where's that line of who goes in place of him?
I'll tell you this much: Gardner Minshew, Kyle Allen. I think kind of those guys, those questions,
right.
Those. I don't even know if they're question marks. I think I start Jimmy Garoppolo over him. I think there's a lot out there.
Yeah, there is. I just was interested in your line, your Mendoza line, I should say.
It might be right around Kirk Cousins and Matt Stafford.
Right, exactly, right.
Might be where he's. I actually don't like Stafford's matchup in Lambeau on Monday night against what's been a surprisingly good Packers defense.
Yeah.
All right, sitting at the running back position, Joe Mixon going up against the Ravens. Look, that Ravens defense isn't the defense of, Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and those guys, but the offensive line is so bad. The Ravens are quick. I don't know how they get him involved enough, and I don't know how the Bengals slow down Lamar Jackson enough to where this thing isn't 21 points at halftime and they're not running the ball at all. It's just Red Rocket standing back there being target practice for the Baltimore linebackers.
Yeah, he'll be red, but it's not just going to be because of his hair.
Yeah, exactly. And at wide receiver, I'm going to go back to that Eagles-Vikings matchup. If I don't like Carson Wentz, I don't like Alshon Jeffrey. I think he's going to get the shadow of Xavier Rhodes. I think he's going to have trouble there. I think Carson Wentz isn't going to have a lot of time. Could be a good game for Zach Ertz. I think, assuming the Eagles will move the ball somewhat, I think Alshon Jeffrey pays the price for this bad matchup and drawing Rhodes this week, which that doesn't help me at all with the Civil War going on this week.
No, good defenses. When I've got supposedly Jalen Ramsey's playing, and he'll be right on Michael Thomas. So There you have that.
Okay, so we'll call it. Maybe it'll be a wash then.
Okay, quarterback. Now I got to preface some of these sits here. I mean, like I said about your Carson Wentz, you really should have your starting quarterback in a traditional league. But if you're in two quarterback leagues, super flexes, that kind of thing, they can get kind of dicey. So there's 32 quarterbacks. You may not have a choice, but I got to think there's going to be a better option out there than Andy Dalton this week. Going back to your thing.
Yeah,
he had a nice game last week against
Fantasy
Arizona.
NASCAR would be a better option if you're in a position where you're playing Andy Dalton.
Well, I mean, he put up a nice game last week. It gets people thinking, hey, maybe I can throw him in the flex spot or in my second quarterback. But I think this is a real chance for Baltimore to put the boots to the rest of the division. I think they'll be stomping Andy Dalton. Running back. Here's something here. I can't recommend starting or sitting a Jordan Howard or a Peyton Barber and hoping I get it right. So I'm telling you not to get cute. Now, if you have questions between a couple of running backs, that's what the mailbag's for. But if you want me to sit a running back this week, it's going to be Miles Sanders. Jordan Howard is proving to be a solid back. He's outperforming Miles Sanders. Doug Peterson's even admitted that Jordan Howard's the number one back.
Right.
So don't waste a roster spot until he starts exerting himself. Jordan Howard's going to have questions against certain things with bye weeks and injuries. But since he's the number one back, Miles Sanders, don't even think about him.
Yeah, and hopefully everybody shuts up about Sanders. Yeah, I find myself, because of all the draft nicks and all the fantasy Illuminati, he's the type of guy they've been beating that drum all summer and all season, and every time he doesn't perform, which is every week, they got 1,000 excuses for him. I feel it's unfortunate for Mr. Sanders and the whole family. I find myself rooting against this kid, just hoping these people will shut up, and they never will.
Just shut up.
Same with Montgomery in Chicago. It's not his fault. He's still
a great kid.
Jim Brown and LaDainian Tomlinson's love child. It's all the fault of everybody else. Singletary, same thing. They just won't shut up, so I find myself rooting against these guys.
Okay, my wide receiver sit this week is Mike Williams. Look, he's banged up, and do you know that he's 41st in targets? Which is surprising.
Hobbling around.
Well, I know that's the thing, and his red zone production is basically non-existent. Steelers tend to get torched by tight ends and slot guys, but they're actually third in fantasy points scored against the guys that line up wide outside.
Yeah, I think him and Allen might temper your expectation. I think big things from Eckler this week. Now, maybe they move Allen into the slot. I could see that happening where he could have 24 grabs. I think we talked about on Wednesday. All right, Rick, let's get right to it. Let's pick games in jolly old England at 9:30 Eastern, which doesn't work for me, Rick, because that's a half an hour before I like to get out of bed on a Sunday morning. I'm sure that really offends your sensibilities. The Carolina Panthers laying 2 points, giving 2 points to the Bucs in England.
I was actually kind of torn on this. I think
you talk about a coin flip. This is it.
I think the Panthers are a better team, but I hate these London games because they're always weird.
Yeah.
I'm going Panthers 27, Bucs 24, and so I'm going to have Carolina win and cover.
Yeah, so you got the cover there. Yeah, this one was really tough. I just wonder, I think Kyle Allen has a nice game, obviously. I'm going to start him this week. I just wonder if Jameis Winston is a little bit better. I think Mike Evans, after that goose egg, I think they can get him more involved. Godwin's still going to get his. I like what Ronald Jones has been doing lately. I think he's starting to establish himself. I'm starting to buy into the Bucs a little bit, which means here comes the crash. They're going to lose about 42-3. So for your Carolina Panthers fans, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to take the Bucs here outright 23-20, but I have no confidence in that one whatsoever, as you may be able to tell. All right, Rick, the Texans getting 5 heading into Arrowhead, taking on the Chiefs.
Okay, again, we're out of order. Okay, look, the Chiefs just came off a tough loss. They're a little bit banged up. Damian Williams has been banged up. Don't know if they're going to have Tyreek Hill back. We already talked about that ankle sprain of Mahomes, but they're in Arrowhead again, and if they were undefeated, I may be tempted to go the other way. But I'm going Chiefs 30, Texans 28. So what was the cover?
So you got the Texans covering. All right.
I do have the Texans covering.
Getting 5. Yeah, look, I'm just in Arrowhead. I don't like that 5 number. I thought it would be higher, and then I'd be inclined to go your way a little bit. That 5 is just a 2 middle fingers from Vegas saying good luck with this one. Here's what it comes down to for me. Loved what the Texans did last week. They just long been wildly inconsistent offensively. I think the Chiefs coming off that loss, it sounds dumb for a one-loss team for something to be a must-win game, but it kind of feels like that with them. I'm swayed by the fact that the Texans are always in every game, but I just don't think they have enough here. If it's under a touchdown in Arrowhead, I'm just going to take the Chiefs, so that's what I'll do. I'll take the Chiefs here 33-24 because I have no doubt the Chiefs win the game. All right, Rick, the Seahawks giving 1.5 to the Browns in Cleveland.
And I don't know what to make of Cleveland. The beatdown they put on Baltimore, it's kind of like, okay.
Right. Yeah, this is who we thought they were going
right.
to be.
And then the beatdown San Francisco gave Cleveland.
They were never in that game.
No, it wasn't even close. I like Seattle. I'm going Seattle by 10, 34-24.
I really think Seattle's the real deal.
I'll tell you what, you can make an argument, and you won't get any argument from me that Russell Wilson is the best quarterback in the league.
It'd be hard to argue. It really, I mean, you can throw out Mahomes, guys like that.
Exactly.
From a leadership standpoint, Russell Wilson just wild this year.
And the touch that he has been demonstrating on these passes this year is phenomenal.
Yeah, so again, this line sucks, all right, because one thing with Seattle, as great as they've been, every game they've been in has been razor thin. Didn't barely buy a field goal in Pittsburgh, buy a field goal at home against Cincinnati. Everybody's playing them close. Come down to that missed field goal last Thursday. So if this thing was a field goal, I'd take Seattle to win this thing and Cleveland to cover. But that 1.5 is just terrible. So I'm going to have to take the Seahawks here. Obviously, they have to cover. I got Seattle 24-21. All right, and what will be the last time this season the Washington Redskins are a road favorite, giving 3.5 to the Dolphins in Miami?
And I'll tell you what, this is something that I really tossed up. I mean, it's hard to believe I'm sitting here taking time on the Redskins and Dolphins, but if you're going to bet on this turd,
right?
I got the Redskins 24 and the Dolphins 20. So I have Washington actually winning and covering.
Yeah. Hard to say. Why did you struggled saying those words?
I about win. Yeah,
right.
Terrible.
So this is even harder. I got the Redskins winning. The Redskins should win this football game.
But you have Miami covering.
I got Miami covering. This is so. Here's what you think, right? And you did it, and lots of other people did it, and I was, on the verge of doing it in some of my starts and sits. Here's finally the game where all these offensive weapons on these terrible teams are going to emerge. Devontae Parker, Kenyon Drake, Adrian Peterson. I had Terry McLaurin, right? When all this happens, you know what's happening here, Rick, right?
Yeah, it could be 9-7.
This is a 16-13 game.
But I'm looking for the Redskins to surge behind Bill Callahan.
Yeah, good luck with that. This is a 16-13 game. I think the Redskins can get to the 16, so that gives me the Redskins winning, but the Dolphins covering 16-13 in Miami. All right, the Eagles only getting 3 heading into Minnesota.
Yeah, and that was not so surprising.
I'd have bet that was a 6-point number. That 3 surprises me.
After the beatdown they put on the Jets, but then you step back and look, it was the Jets.
It was the Jets, yeah.
Probably in the argument with Washington, Miami, and Cincinnati. I don't know. I mean, the Eagles have been getting shredded through the air, and I think no matter how much whining and everything, they still have to worry about Dalvin Cook, and they still have Diggs. They still have Thielen. I take the Vikings to win. I think it's going to be a close game, though. I'm going Vikings 31, Eagles 29.
All right, I've got to look at something here, Rick, real quick. So let me find that game. All right, the Eagles are 3-2, so they're a winning team.
Yeah.
So that's bad things for Kirk Cousins. If you're below 500, Kirk Cousins will hand you your lunch or eat your lunch, but no, I think the Vikings defense is too good. I think the Eagles pass defense is too bad with all those weapons, and Dalvin Cook can't be stopped by anybody at this point. I think it's going to be close. I think this could be a pretty entertaining game. I'm going to take the Vikings to cover here, 34-30. I think it's barely a cover, but I'll take that. So the Vikings by 4 at home. All right, Rick, 2 teams I'd get wrong every week. I can't get a handle on. The Saints getting 1 heading into Jacksonville.
As much as I love Minshew Mania, I really there hasn't been enough said about the job that Teddy Bridgewater's doing.
Right.
And that Saints defense is what a lot of people thought Jacksonville was going to be.
Right,
It's
I thought the
very
same
tough.
thing. I thought the exact same thing.
I'm going Saints 31, Jags 23. I'm going to have the Saints win and cover.
Yeah, you keep waiting for Minshew to come back to earth. This may be the week. He may not come back to earth,
might not.
And the Saints could still win this game. Teddy Bridgewater does just enough. You still have Michael Thomas. You still have Kamara. Bridgewater's not doing anything flashy. You're not seeing any 300-yard multi-touchdown performances. He's just managing it with the weapons he has, and that defense is kind of doing the rest. I think they're just more talented even without Drew Brees top to bottom. So I'm going to take the Saints here 22-18, which obviously would be a cover being 1 point. All right, Rick, the Bengals receiving 11 dandy points heading into Baltimore, taking on the Ravens.
11 dandy points. 11 dandy points. I was looking at something here. I have to pull it up here. Okay. This is something that I thought was funny. And then I stopped and thought, you know what? This is a division game. The Ravens, I'm not convinced, are as good. I think they're going to harass Dalton. I think they're going to stuff him. But I still think the game's going to be pretty close. I'm going Ravens 25, Bengals 20. So I'm going to take the Ravens to win, Bengals to cover.
See, I kicked that around, the whole divisional thing. Then I looked back to Monday night, 2 weeks ago, when a lifeless, awful Mason Rudolph-led Pittsburgh Steelers team hung 24 on this bungling group of nobodies in Cincinnati. So I think this line could be 20, and I'd still take the Ravens. I think this is a blowout. The Ravens 37, Bengals 14, and I don't know how they get to 14.
I just want to step back just for a minute. One thing that I wanted to bring to light, you said, Teddy Bridgewater just doing enough, this,
right.
that, and the other. He went for 314 yards and 4 touchdowns last week.
Oh, he did? I missed that, apparently.
Well, when he has to.
It's a very understated 314 and 4 TDs. Then.
Exactly, because we had Deshaun Watson's 426
in the context of what he did.
Exactly,
right.
Russell Wilson's 4 touchdowns. But, Teddy Bridgewater, when he has to, can get it done. And, he has been impressive this year.
All right, 49ers go into L.A. taking on the Rams, getting 3.5. 49ers plus 3.5 after that domination of that big mouth zilch Baker Mayfield.
We talked about the problems the Rams have been having. Their Gurley's a little banged up. Goff isn't playing sharp. The defense has been getting shredded. But this even more than what I was talking about before, division game. This, I think, is where the buck stops for the 49ers on the undefeated streak. I'm going with the Rams in a tight ball game, maybe a defensive touchdown, maybe some turnovers. Garoppolo had been turning over a little bit here and there. I'm going Rams 26, 49ers 24.
All right, so you got a Rams win and a Niners cover then. Yeah, this is one of those deals where there's kind of two themes to this game, and both are true, so it's difficult. The 49ers are for real.
Oh,
They're the real
no
deal.
doubt.
But this is a must-win for the Rams at this point, or they're going to lose sight of the top of this division as well as the 49ers have been playing and Seattle's been playing. So this is a must-win. So I kind of see this being probably one of the games of the week, a very exciting kind of back-and-forth game. This feels like a make-good from Greg the Leg. He's going to hit from about 62 as time expires in regulation, which would make that a 3-point Rams win. So I am with you. I got a Rams win, but a Niners cover. I'm right there with you. All right, Rick, a confounding team still to me, the Falcons, giving 2.5 points to the Cardinals in Arizona.
And I have no idea why I'm going this way. Week after week, I think that the Falcons are going to win. And I'm doing it again. I think they go out to Arizona and they take the Cardinals. I'm going Atlanta 34, Arizona 28. So I have the Falcons winning and covering.
Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it.
This is what I said when I saw this game and I saw that line. You have to take the Falcons here, right? I would in no way be stunned if Arizona beat them by 40.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just still feel like Atlanta should win this game. So I'll have them winning and covering. What do I got? 27-20. I'll take them by a touchdown.
Right.
All right, Rick, the Titans getting 2.5 heading to Denver. This surprised me, the Titans getting points in Denver.
Tough game, yeah, but the Broncos had a big win last week, and they're at home in Denver. It's going to be cold. Snow's blowing around already out there.
And then that's what I like about Denver. Then next week it'll be 92 degrees in that same stadium.
But they'll be away. They'll be playing in Green Bay or something.
It's so weird. Yeah. They always get that early snow, and then when you think it should be snowing there, it's 80.
Right.
I love Denver. I should move there.
I think the Titans pull out a very close, hard-fought win. I'm going Titans 19, Broncos 18. I think it's going to be a defensive game.
So, all right, so you got the Titans outright. I got the Titans outright as well. That defense is absolutely for real, and I think Joe Flacco is going to really, really struggle. And so while, I don't expect any big offensive outburst from the Titans, I think they win this game as well. If I can get that defense against Joe Flacco catching points, I'm going to take that every time. So I think it's going to be an ugly one. I got the Titans here 19, the Broncos 13.
Okay.
Sometimes somebody's got to get to 19, right? I predict that 3 times every week. And
I got 19 as well.
I don't think I've ever seen it. All right, the Cowboys, after getting exposed the last 2 weeks against actual NFL football teams, giving 7.5 points to apparently healthy Sam Darnold and the Jets.
Well, fortunately, they're playing the Jets, and they'll get back on track against another bum team. I like the Cowboys 28-14. Dak, they'll probably throw up their numbers. I don't think Darnold, they still don't have many weapons. You got Le'Veon Bell and Robbie Anderson. That's about it. So, in fact, Herndon's not coming back from suspension because he pulled a hamstring. So, no, I think Cowboys easily 28-14.
No, right? This is who the Cowboys are. They just beat up on, to use your word, crummy teams, and they struggle with good teams. The Jets are a crummy team. Sam Darnold, I don't know how much of a step up he's going to be for Mr. Falk this week. You're coming off, I don't know what that mono does. I assume it's like the flu. So
makes you tired.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's 100% ready to go, so I think they struggle. So I take the Cowboys here winning and covering 28-17. All right, Rick, your Pittsburgh Steelers, a team I have disavowed, the Pittsburgh Steelers, getting 6.5 points in L.A. in that soccer stadium, taking on the Chargers.
Yeah, I don't like them going west, quite frankly, and for opposite reasons of the last few years. It's not because of the defense. I don't think they're going to win this game. I think their defense is playing much better, and they'll probably hold the Chargers in relative check, whatever you do with that offense. But I don't, with Mason Rudolph banged up, we don't know who's going to be starting. We don't know if it's going to be him or Hodges. The run game's really not there. I'm going Chargers 27, Steelers 17. I hope I'm wrong.
So you got a Chargers cover. All right. I think this is obviously a Chargers win, right? It is
well, they're so wishy-washy, too. You think they're a dominating team, and here they are 2-3. So I don't want to make either one of these teams.
Yeah, they got to have this one. Devlin Hodges isn't going to be the one to end your season, I don't think. Although I think what we've seen all year, the Steelers are going to keep this just close enough to give us stupid Yinzers some hope halfway through the fourth quarter. So I think the Steelers cover. They're not going to win this game, but I think the Steelers cover, get their heart broken late again. I got the Chargers 30-27. And Monday Night Football, Lions only getting 4 heading into Green Bay.
With your Matt Stafford.
My Matt Stafford.
Look, the Packers, I think, are for real, but this is going to be a good game. I think Matt Stafford's going to put up some numbers. Nothing huge, but I think they're going to be able to score. I think they'll be able to run on the Packers somewhat. Still like Green Bay. I'm going Green Bay 31, the Lions 28. So I got Green Bay winning, but the Lions covering.
Yep. All right. So here's my thoughts on this one. Detroit Lions playing in prime time on the road against a division rival. Had a couple of surprise wins, nationally getting attention, getting everybody saying, you know what, this Lions team might be the real deal. You know what that means, don't you? They're about to throw up all over their shoes. I got the Packers huge here, the Lions giving it back, showing us they're still the Detroit Lions. Actually, I don't have it that big, but I got the Packers here winning and covering 31-23.
All right. We all know what that means.
You've got mail.
You do have mail. Asylumfootball@gmail.com. @AsylumFootball on Twitter. Rick, let's get right to it.
And if it's before noon on Sunday, you can keep sending them into the mailbag. Okay.
What do with you and that button?
I didn't do a thing.
Oh, so it's the ghost in the
Must
system
be.
again.
I don't know. Okay, Kurt writes, he has a PPR dilemma.
All right.
With Allen Robinson, T.Y. Hilton on buys.
That is a dilemma.
Pick 2.
All righty.
Deontay Johnson, Robbie Anderson, Geronimo Allison, D.D. Westbrook.
Oh, my. Yeah, that's a sticky wicket there.
Look, he's not putting up huge numbers, but at least with Minshew Mania, I think D.D. Westbrook's involved. I can't go Anderson. And one of the takeaways that I did have, while we're just kind of, melding things together, Allison and Valdez-Scantling, they just have not developed really any chemistry, with Aaron Rodgers. And it's hard to trust them, to put in there. I'm almost tempted to go, geez, I don't know.
I think Deontay Johnson's the obvious one here with James Washington out. He kind of seems to he's big play dependent,
right?
But you're kind of chasing points this week.
Got to be Johnson and Westbrook in my mind.
Yeah, probably. You could talk me into Allison. I'm throwing Robbie Anderson out. I'm with you. This week he does have. Well, no, I'm not going to talk myself. So I'll go with DD with you. I really have no faith in him. But
I don't either.
But I think Deontay's obvious.
But Kurt, you're right. You are in a dilemma.
That's definitely a PPR dilemma.
I mean, he's probably got, I don't know, with a Robinson and Hilton on buys. Those were probably his 2s and 3s. So you're probably at least got one good one.
Right.
I would hope you hit on one of these guys. Okay, Walt writes, another PPR, Diggs or Goodwin? Not Godwin.
Goodwin, boy, you talk about a guy I thought was, going back 2 years ago, was going to take over the world. And then when they bring in Jimmy G, and he's back healthy, and I thought we'd see Goodwin take that big step forward. It just hadn't been there. For as good as that offense has been, he's essentially been uninvolved. So even with all the drama, it's Diggs, and it's not even close.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. All right, blow it up.
All righty, I like it.
That was pretty lame.
That was a little quiet. Let's do it again.
I like that better. Okay, Skip writes, my running backs are Cook, Ingram, Ronald Jones, and Kenyon Drake. My wide receivers are Thielen, Chark, Geronimo Allison, Paul Richardson, James Washington, and Christian Kirk. I also had AB at one time.
Many did.
Yeah. So AB's gone, Kirk's hurt, and James Washington's hurt. So now basically we have Thielen, Chark. Well, this is a trade question. It doesn't matter. Okay, it's PPR, and I was offered Robert Woods and Kerryon Johnson for Mark Ingram and Geronimo Allison.
I'm not blown away by Woods or Ingram. Maybe it makes your squad a little deeper. But the upside of Ingram, who cares?
Well, you're getting Woods,
right,
and Kerryon Johnson,
right? Who both?
And you're giving away Mark Ingram.
Yeah, I don't want to give away Ingram, even for those two.
Okay, you seemed to like you were kind of dissing both. I wasn't sure what direction.
I want
you were
the Mark
going.
Ingram side, whichever side that is.
I think I would too, because you're
not getting markedly better making that move.
No, you have Thielen, Chark. And, Kirk gets back, you'll be okay. With this week, Paul Richardson might be okay down in Miami. So, yeah, I don't think I'd go there either, Rick. I'm with
Robert Woods hasn't been good. He flat hasn't been good.
Well, he hasn't been bad.
No.
But it's the Rams. They're just not what you're expecting out of these guys, and that's the problem. Well, let's take a look at Woods while we're here. You have Cooper Kupp, who's been leading that whole charge there.
That's what worries me, and now he's got to share the rest with Brandon Cook.
Yeah, there's Woods, 31 catches, 355 yards. He's got 43 rushing yards, but no touchdowns.
Yeah, so, 3 for 40. We had the 13 for 164, and what's the anomaly game overall with Tampa Bay, everything that happened there. Back to 5 for 48.
Yeah.
Look, I can get 3 for 40, 4 for 40 out of, I'm going to be chasing it
Allison
every week
or
out
somebody.
of Kirk, out of one of these guys. I got Thielen and Chark as my 1s and 2s, and then Ingram is my number 2 running back. I want way more than I want Kerryon Johnson as my number 2 running back.
Agreed.
You've got a good team composition. Player for player, this is probably a good move for you, but I think this really upsets your team composition, and I wouldn't do it.
I agree. And going into this week with Miami, where you can get Paul Richardson in there, maybe next week Kirk will be back, you should be okay. I mean, Chark's knocking it out. You have Thielen. Even Allison may pick it up, so I agree. Okay, Will writes, Dak or Rivers?
Oh, you got Dak against a bad team. River. I think your safer bet's Dak. Rivers could have a big day, but Steelers' defense are getting after the quarterback. I think Dak just feasts on a bad team.
I do,
that's
too.
what he's shown he's done this year.
Yeah,
so go
I agree.
Dak.
Okay, Nathan writes, it's a PPR question. Tevin Coleman or Jordan Howard?
Ooh, okay. Yeah, Tevin Coleman looked good in his return.
He looked very good, but so does Matt Breida.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's really a run-heavy San Francisco offense, quite frankly. So, but then, Doug Peterson goes out and says, Jordan Howard is the number 1 guy right now.
The problem is I feel like Jordan Howard is still very touchdown dependent. Miles Sanders is still getting plenty of work as much as I root against him because of all of you out there. I find myself rooting against him. I think I'm going to go with Coleman here. They're going to be able to move the ball against this Rams defense. What he can do in a PPR scenario, I think, is the difference maker. Look, if Jordan Howard goes out and puts up 2 or 3 more touchdowns, I'm sorry. It's just so hard to predict that. Coleman's a safer bet here.
Definitely. PPR standard, I would go Howard. But PPR, I don't even think it's close.
Right.
Quite frankly. All right. Scott writes, we do not play a flex position.
Well, why not, Scott?
Well, yeah, Scott. Okay, it is PPR. Are you done destroying this poor man?
Oh, sorry.
But pick 2 running backs. He's got a lot of running backs for only running 2 and no flex.
Okay.
But he's got some depth. It's PPR. Okay, we have Aaron Jones.
All right.
Devontae Freeman. Austin Eckler, and Phillip Lindsay.
Eckler and Lindsay. All right, this is easy for me. I'm going to ride this Aaron Jones train till it comes off the rails. It's going to come off the rails at some point. Freeman, I like his matchup, but I don't trust him. He's been so bad this year, and Eckler was my running back start this week. So this is Jones and Eckler for me easily.
Yeah, I don't want to buy in that huge game that Lindsey turned in.
No.
We've got this game.
Not against the Titans especially.
No, if my prediction's even close, I don't have them scoring a lot of points this week. If they're in Denver, it's going to be cold. I'm with you. Aaron Jones, ride that train till it stops. I mean, look, Williams is still out. I mean, it's his show the whole way through.
I don't think Jones is going to put up 4 TDs again this week. I know that may be a bold prediction. So, you heard it here first.
Boy, you are getting out there. I know.
I'm on that limb. But yeah, it will end, I think, at some point. But ride it till it does.
I agree. Jones and Eckler. Okay, Lily has a problem.
Lily, all right, Lily, we're here to help you.
She right, and she does. She has a problem. It's a half-point PPR. Saquon isn't playing, and Mac is on a bye.
That's a problem, Lily. I feel you. That's
and I still need 2 running backs.
Well, yeah, most of us do. All right, what do you got, Lily?
Royce Freeman.
That's a problem.
Duke Johnson.
Another problem.
Adrian Peterson.
That's not as bad.
Rashad Penny.
Okay.
To me, it's easy. It's Duke Johnson and Adrian Peterson. Peterson's my start. I think he's just out of sheer load, he's going to get it. Duke Johnson is an enigma because he's like 1 or 2 in the league in about every category as far as yards per touch, and things of that nature, and they don't seem to use him.
They won't give him the football, yes. That's a problem, though, for a fantasy player.
But Royce Freeman has definitely been taking the backseat to Phillip Lindsay, and Penny is just coming back. And look what Chris Carson's been doing. I mean, can you really start either one of those guys over even Duke Johnson?
No, that's the thing. I do not trust Duke Johnson, but even as little as they give him the football, I think Royce Freeman, even if he gets – so in his limited role, I'm not messing with that Titans defense. I know I'm talking about them like the 85 Bears, and they're not that, but I'm not messing with them. Rashad Penny, I'm just going to have to see it unless Chris Carson puts the ball in the – Chris Carson, when you watch him play, has looked like the best running back in the National Football League this year, just running people over, getting it done everywhere. Except he keeps putting it on the carpet. I don't want to sit around and hope Chris Carson fumbles and Penny comes into the game. So I'm with you. Yeah, Lily, you're in a rough spot. You were right. AD are going to be good on, and I think Duke Johnson's your safest bet. You hope he busts off a long reception in what could be a shootout in Arrowhead.
Yeah, you mean AP.
No, he's AD. He's told you that himself.
Who?
It stands for all day.
Oh, yeah,
Adrian
all day.
Come
Yeah,
on,
that's
get with
right.
it,
Yeah.
Rick. You're just not hip like I am.
Yeah,
Rick.
woke.
Yeah, that's right.
That
woke.
drives me nuts, too.
I am woke.
Yeah, you're woke, all right. I got another couple words for you.
You can't say those, though. And being woke, I know what they are and that you can't say them. And frankly, you shouldn't be thinking
I think we're going to make this show explicit.
Even then, you can't say that. Stand-up comedians aren't allowed to say those words anymore.
Well, you don't know what I'm going to say.
Oh, I know what you're going to
say.
say.
No, I don't think you do.
I've known you long enough.
Zay writes.
Zay, like Jones. I don't think we talked about that. Zay Jones heading out to
that's true.
The Raiders. What do you think about that? Big nothing, or could it be something?
I think that it could certainly make them better. And look, they're 3-2. Right. And I don't know how. I mean, quite frankly, I really thought this team was going. Yeah, I thought it was going to be a terrible team,
and it's never been pretty.
No, but I mean, what they did over in England last week was impressive.
Absolutely.
I mean, they took down Chicago Bears. They weren't playing Miami,
and they came from behind against the Bears defense. That's to be noted.
Exactly. I think he's going to help them out. I mean, probably not going to make a huge impact. He's got to get to know the offense
I don't think he's
and so forth.
Fantasy impact.
No.
I think it's still going to run through Darren Waller almost exclusively and Williams.
Tyrell Williams, right.
Those two guys. I think he helps, but no fantasy impact.
I don't think so.
Which is probably why he didn't make the show till I just remembered it right now.
Right. Okay. Zay wrote. And maybe it is Zay. I don't know.
Could be Zay Jones.
He likes to play. Minshew plays fantasy. Why shouldn't Zay Jones? Goff or Stafford?
Ooh, gross. Okay. Goff or Stafford, blah, 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 blah. Being a must-win game, I think Stafford's going to have trouble this week going on. I think Detroit's going to be bad this week. I think the Rams, are going to win. So give me Goff. I'm not going to overthink it. I could really overthink this thing. The hatred you have for Matt Stafford is equal to the love I have for him. I'm not going to talk myself into it. I'm going Goff.
Yeah, and I mean the disdain I have for him, it's just kind of one of those things, would he be a better player? Yeah, it's easy to overthink something like this because Goff, we just brought up Robert Woods and no touchdowns. They just haven't been that explosive. Gurley could be out. I mean, but I think that may work in Goff's favor as far as fantasy production. He may have to throw more.
Yeah, he may throw 4 picks, but I think he could throw for
it's true.
375 and 3 touchdowns while he does it, which is all I really care about.
Okay, so we will go with Jared Goff. And finally, Paul writes. And it starts out with all. If it was week 1 or 2, you'd say it was ridiculous. Is it time to bench Evans? We start 2 wide receivers in a half-point PPR, and I have, besides Evans, Woods, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Jones, and Mohamed Sanu. My running backs have been big, so I use my third in the flex, Cook, Eckler, and Aaron Jones. So, do you bench Mike Evans for Robert Woods, Mr. Fleeger?
I can't do it.
Do you bench him for Cortland Sutton?
Can't do it.
Marvin Jones?
Can't do it.
Mohamed Sanu?
Can't do it. Look, Sanu, And Marvin Jones we can take off the table, I think. And when you're talking about...
I think if you throw out Evans and Sutton, or Woods, one or the other. I mean, Sutton's been putting up numbers, but I think against that Tennessee defense could be. But I think Evans has to be one of them.
He does. He just does. I mean, look, Ben, we talked about it on Wednesday, if you were listening. Wildly inconsistent. 2 for 28, bad. 4 for 61, average. 8 for 190 and 3. That's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
4 for 89 and a touch. Good.
Okay.
I'll take that. Nothing for nothing and nothing. That's no boy. So look,
do you think that's going to happen 2 weeks in a row?
That's
Paul?
not going to happen.
No.
And here's the problem: when you're talking about if you have a shark or somebody like that. All right, if you're in that situation, somebody that's popped like that you got off the waiver wire or didn't spend a lot of draft capital on, then I take that risk. I am not going to risk missing that 8 for 190 and 3 for the likes of Sutton, Marvin Jones,
right.
Mohamed Sanu. I can't.
You may get burned once in a while, but here's one thing, and we've been doing this a long time, and you remember, a few years ago, I was down on Mike Evans for what reason? Not because of his touchdowns, not because of the yardage, but of his lack of catches.
Right.
It was always wildly inconsistent. And why was that? Because beside him, they had a Vincent Jackson,
right, yeah.
a big possession guy. They haven't had that the last couple of years. Now, all of a sudden, we've got Chris Godwin.
Right.
So you're going to have to, I think, live with this inconsistency, as Bob Lung would love to discuss next week, hopefully, of Mike Evans. But you can't take him out of the lineup because you don't want to miss 189 and 3 touchdowns.
Not for the likes of this list you gave me. Like I said, if you had a shark or somebody like that, I don't know why I'm honed in on him. But that kind of player who's putting up consistently good numbers, who you didn't draft to be a starter, who you didn't draft to play very often, that's the kind of guy you plug in, you sit Evans down, and he's going to be so consistent. Even if you miss that big week for Evans, you're going to be fine. When you're talking Mohamed Sanu, Marvin Jones, they're the same guy. Well, right. Sanu's not even that. He's just kind of a nice piece.
Sanu
Marvin Jones
that guy. He's
Marvin
that
Jones
pro.
almost has this same stat line. So Mike Evans is a better risk there. Cameron Sutton, he's had some nice days. He's on a terrible offense, just a terrible offense with a loser of a quarterback. I shouldn't say that. Joe Flacco's won a Super Bowl.
But they're playing Tennessee.
Right.
And Cortland Sutton only has 26 He had a big game, don't get me wrong. 26 catches. He's got the 3 touchdowns. And you put that, what's Evans got? He's got 4 touchdowns.
Right. 3 of them in one game.
Yeah.
And then when you look at a Robert Woods, if we just use everybody here, everything I just read about Mike Evans, I felt like I read the exact same thing not 10 minutes ago about Woods, right? So, again, Mike Evans has a better pedigree, in my opinion, so that's why with this list of guys you have, it's going to be painful, it's going to burn you, he's going to cost you a game, you're going to be beating your head off the wall. Believe me, I'm in that same boat, dude. I'm playing Rick this week, and I'm going to have Mike Evans starting going up against, you got to do it because I'm in the same boat. I don't have anybody any better, any more trustworthy to risk losing that 8 for 190 and 3.
Yeah. Now, if you're sitting there, and you happen to have a Will Fuller sitting there, you're asking a question. That's a different story. Or even a Tyler Boyd.
Tyler Boyd, you start him over pretty much anybody.
He's 37 catches, 406 yards. He's only got 1 touchdown. I mean, he's what? He's probably top 1, 2, 4, 6. 8. He's 9th in the league in scoring. So, he's a top 10er right now. But with that offensive line, I don't know if they're going to maintain that. I don't know, especially A.J. Green's practicing now. So how's that going to affect him? But right now, that's immaterial. You don't have him, Paul.
Right.
So start Mike Evans.
Start Mike Evans. That was a long way to say, Paul, start Mike Evans.
Exactly. Okay, we're going to cover something very quickly here.
All righty.
Before we get out of here.
Hurry up. It's Friday night.
Yeah, but.
I'm exhausted.
And it's kind of funny the spin that the title puts on this. Young people are spearheading mental health awareness at the workplace.
So this is some millennial BS, isn't it? I'm going to get mad, Rick.
Well, it infuriated me. So that's why I brought it in.
That's a low threshold, though.
Okay, about half of millennials and 75% of Gen Zers. Is that what they are?
Is that what's after millennials?
Apparently.
Is that like my daughter? Is she a Gen Zer?
I don't
maybe?
know.
I don't know what the.
Well, I know some Gen Zers are of working age, so I don't know.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
anyway,
Maybe
about
there's
half
something
of
after that.
millennials and 75% of Gen Zers have quit their jobs for mental health reasons, according to a new study conducted by MindShares Partners, SAP, and Quatrix. It was published in the Harvard Business Review.
Well, of course it was.
That's compared to just 20% of respondents overall who said they voluntarily left a job in order to prioritize their mental health, emblematic of a shift in generational awareness. The authors of the report, Kelly Greenwood, Vivek Bipep, and Mike Mon, wrote, for baby boomers, the number was less than 10% of quitting their jobs for mental health reasons. Imagine that.
Well, and here's the problem. But you can blame the baby boomers and what am I, Gen X? Is that what they consider me?
I don't know what the hell you are.
We got real used to all this food and electricity that's around us, and that we were required as responsible adults to provide for ourselves and our stupid millennial and Gen Z kids. Now, we have coddled them so much that we'll just let them move back in with us, and we'll feed them and pat them on the head for their mental health. What are you talking about, your mental health? I manage people, right? You can't say good morning to somebody anymore, so it'd be taken wrong. So I don't know what these Gen Zers and millennials aren't having given to them that they have to quit a job for mental health.
If you want to
on us, Rick.
If you want to, no, I didn't raise my kids that way, okay, and they won't be that way. But I agree. But if you want a house, if you want a family, if you want electricity, if you want food, what do?
I work.
Okay. But listen to the way they put this. It should come as no surprise that younger generations are paving the way for the destigmatization of mental health. A Wall Street Journal article published in March labeled millennials the therapy generation, as today's 20 and 30-somethings are more likely to turn to therapy and with fewer reservations than young people in previous eras did.
That's fine.
I never thought of it. No. I didn't need to.
No, that's fine. You want to go to therapy? I'm all for it. Do it after work. How about that? Jerk, go to work.
Exactly. Oh.
You can do whatever you want after work. You can go to therapy. You can go to that new crazy room at the Flyers Stadium where you get to beat on things with hockey sticks. Whatever you got to do, just do it after work. Somebody asking you to, for the 8 hours that you said you would be there and accept these large sums of money, if you just go there and do that.
But they're trying to make this sound like it's some... It says, in the study, millennials ages 23 to 38 were 63% more likely than baby boomers ages 55 to 73 to know the proper procedure for seeking mental health support from a company. I don't want mental health support from a damn company.
Right.
I want a paycheck.
Yeah, give me the check. I'm going to go home.
And hospitalization so when I have the heart attack, getting worked up over you people.
Because here's what you're going to do, Rick. You're going to go home to the house you paid for with your own money and drink the beer that you paid for with your own money until you feel drunk enough to get well with you. You're an alcoholic, but this is how you deal with things. Now, look, if you want therapy, and look, it's good, I guess, that with actual, but there's a much lower threshold of mental health issues now. You being a whining punk is not a mental health issue.
No.
You're just a pussy. I'm going to say it. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on his airway. That's what you are. That's not a mental health issue. That's poor raising by your parents and your unwillingness to drink brown liquor to deal with your problems, which is something that should be done. Go to work, then go to therapy, go to your support group, go to your cuddle tickle group, whatever you got to do, I don't care, but do it after work and don't ask me to pay
your
for
teddy
it.
bear at home while you're watching TV. I
think we'll get any hate mail for this.
I hope. I don't care.
I'll
that is just irked me to no end.
Yeah, so I don't know why you had to ruin my weekend, Rick. Let's
Well,
get
because
out of
that's
here.
what I like to do.
But otherwise, for those of you who still listen to us, you non-millennials, and those of you willing to work for a living.
Don't die before we do.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Good luck this week. Silentfootball@gmail.com. At Silentfootball at Twitter. Rick will answer those questions right up till kickoff. Good luck this week. Till next time, we'll see you.
Take care.
Stupid millennials.